Hello and welcome to Direct Initiative, the podcast where we talk about direct democracy and the importance of ballot measures. I'm Alex Kawa, and if you're watching this on YouTube, as you can see, I am not in my normal location today. That's because just last week I moved back into my college for my senior year. So that's why I haven't really been doing any episodes lately, because I've just been kind of getting settled back into things. But for today's episode, we're going to be talking about why I think a movement for direct democracy is preferable and should be prioritized over a movement for a third party. So let's be honest, if in case it wasn't already clear based on my beliefs that I have espoused throughout this podcast and on my channel that I used to do but don't really anymore, I am a progressive, politically speaking. And while I am a registered Democrat, I do recognize the fact that there are many, many problems with the Democratic Party and that there should be an alternative to just electing Democrats as the solution to our problems. And I think most leftists understand that, most leftists and progressives, that is, and that's why a lot of people have gravitated towards the third party push. And I did for a while too. I think I reached a point in around 2021 sometime when I just really became disillusioned with the Democratic Party. 2020, 2021 is when I did. And I decided, okay, I cannot support the Democratic Party anymore. I would get on board with one of these third-party efforts. And at the time, it felt good to just feel all principled and stuff. But I think now realizing, and this goes into the first real problem with the third-party movement, there's no teeth to it. And that's for a number of reasons. And for starters, it's because we have first-past-the-post voting. And under first-past-the-post voting, it's nearly impossible for a third-party candidate to win. Now, in some cases, it might be done under certain circumstances. But even if that happens, that still doesn't change the fact that, okay, maybe someday a new third party will just become the new second party. Maybe the Republican Party will die out and a new party will take over, or something like that. And even that's unlikely to happen. But even if it were to happen, it'd still be a two-party system, just different parties, if that makes sense. So that's why under first past the post, you can't really have a third party movement because there will always be just two parties. And that goes into, okay, well, so why don't we just advocate for ranked choice voting? And the reason I support ranked choice voting, as I've talked about before on this show, part of the problem with prioritizing that is, while it might be good to prioritize, for primaries and stuff, where oftentimes we see candidates win with just a plurality of the vote, especially in crowded fields, I think doing it for the sake of building up a new third party is kind of a waste of time. And that's my overall point. I think the third party movement is kind of a waste of time because at the end of the day, we're still just relying on politicians, because that's what these people will become if somehow they do get elected, even as a third party candidate. They'll just become politicians, and we're just relying on them to do what they say they do. We're just relying on them to keep their promises. And we all know that there are grifters out there. There are going to be people who have no intention of sticking to their promises, or people who would want to water down their promises. What did I say on the campaign trail that I wanted to do this? Well, never mind. I only want to do this now, or this is all I can get done. Something like that. And so it's still going to be the same problem that electing Democrats and Republicans is, which is they don't keep their promises. And as a result, they underdeliver. With something like direct democracy, you don't have to just guess and just cross your fingers and hope that they'll keep their promises when they get into office. You can actually institute those policies that they say they support, and you don't have to guess about it. But furthermore, even getting rid of first-past-the-post voting and creating a way for third parties to potentially have a chance, even then, so many third parties just don't want to do that. So many third party supporters, for instance, People's Party or stuff like that, they just really do not want to do the work to actually try and build a new third party. They don't want to do any of that. They just want to criticize Democrats all the time. And so that's a big problem. And look, there's plenty of things to criticize the Democrats on, but if that's all you're doing without actually trying to build an alternative, and that's all you spend your really all you spend your time doing, instead when you could be advocating for stuff, you could be doing actual groundwork, you could be going outside and organizing or doing something like that, if all you're doing is criticizing without offering any alternative, then your criticisms are pointless. Now, that's, I think, where the third-party movement is at. It's that it's just super disjointed, because not only do people say, oh, we need to build a new third party, when in reality there have been parties that have been around for a long time that haven't been touched because they all go in the same direction. The Green Party's been around for decades and it hasn't picked up yet. So they go, okay, let's try a new third party. But on the same path. It's going to keep happening until we get rid of first past the post. But even if we do get rid of first past the post again, it's probably just going to lead to another two-party system just with different parties or a different party. And with how disjointed the third party movement is, or if you can even really call it a movement, that's why I think a movement for direct democracy can be a lot better, because there is already organizational groundwork. There are already groups who are trying to get initiatives onto the ballot. And there are already people who know that the initiative process exists in their state. And so that infrastructure is already there. And that's an important thing, because the infrastructure for third parties is basically non-existent. And we have so many issues to address that it just feels pointless to put all our energy into making it easier for a candidate who says they're going to fix these issues to get into office. No, we should actually do what we can to enact those issues into law ourselves. And that's why, of course, if you live in an initiative state, take advantage of the initiative process. Or if you don't live in an initiative state, yeah, it might be hard to try and bring the initiative process to that state. And it's going to be incredibly hard to bring it to it at the federal level, especially because it would require another constitutional amendment, which is a near impossibility to get passed in this political climate. But it's much more worth it than a third-party effort, because I think that why should we trust a candidate to fix all these issues, which cannot happen. No candidate can fix every single issue. And so we need to actually bring a process that would allow us to take the lawmaking power into our own hands. And none of this is me saying, like, hey, you shouldn't support third-party candidates. Do whatever you want. Like, you have your own judgment. Like, you make the judgment yourself. I have voted third-party before. And if you want to do it, that is totally fine. Like, I do not prescribe any judgment to you if you choose to do that, because you genuinely don't think the Democrats are redeemable. I mean, for the longest time, I thought that. But then, I saw in states like Michigan and Minnesota, the Democrats with their very slim majorities were doing incredible things. And so that, I think, gave me a little bit more hope. But I also recognize that just relying on the Democrats to get progressive policies done is not the answer. I mean, you could ascribe whatever reason you want to that, but it is what it is. And so that's why the initiative process, I think, wins out over the third-party process. And again, like, if you want to vote third party, again, like, that is totally fine. I'm not going to tell you not to. I'm just saying, don't be blind about it. Like, don't think, oh, I am going to change, like, this is going to send shockwaves through the system, this vote third party. Like, it's not. It's like a protest vote. Unless you live in Vermont, where, like, the Vermont Progressive Party is actually pretty strong. It's a protest vote, and it's going to stay that way. And honestly, we're better off actually trying to get initiatives onto the ballot than trying to build a new third party, because there have been many attempts to do that, and they all lead to the same destination. And let's be honest, like, not only is the infrastructure not there, unlike it is with many initiative states where the infrastructure is there because there are several groups who are already doing that work and getting stuff onto the ballot and winning on these issues. But also, the whole point of direct democracy is, hey, we can't just rely on politicians to do the stuff that needs to get done. Like, we actually need to save ourselves here, kind of. It's kind of sad that it's come to that point, but it is what it is, and that's the state of the world we're in. And that's why third parties aren't really the answer. Direct democracy is. So those are my thoughts. I know that was a little rambly, but what do you all think? Do you think that fighting for an initiative system in every state is better than fighting for a third party? Or do you think the opposite? Or do you think maybe both are worth it? Please let me know. And if you enjoyed this episode, if you are on YouTube, then please like and subscribe to the channel. I know I've been kind of gone for a while, but I will try to make more, I promise. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, then make sure you like and leave a good review and follow the podcast. And I will see everybody soon. I'm Alex Kawa, and this is Direct Initiative.